In this video, I will show you how to access and manage the shared Google Drive folder for the stake called Stake Leadership Documents. And in this video, we're going to focus on how to do so on an iPad, but these principles would also work pretty much the same way on an iPhone. So here I am on my iPad, and as you can see, I have a screen on my iPad on which I have the 5 most important apps that I'll need in order to access and manage the shared Google Drive. The first app is just the App Store, and the reason I'm starting with that is that it's very important that you install these other 4 apps on your iPad or iPhone. You need Google Drive itself, Google Drive. You also need Google Docs, Google Sheets, and Google Slides. So that's one of the reasons why it's a little extra tricky to do this on an iPad or an iPhone, is because it's not really just Google Drive. You need all 4 of these. So you probably already know about this, but you would just go to the App Store, you would do a search for Google Drive, you would then install it, and then do the same for each of these. Once you have those installed on your iPad, it might make sense to put them together in a folder. And this is just a suggestion. You don't have to do this at all. But I'm just going to tap on this app and I'll hold the tap. So my finger is still touching it. And after a while, you can see everything kind of starts to shake, and I can now drag this app. And I'm going to put it on top of the Google Docs app. And notice it opened up and created a little folder, basically. It's a space where I can put both of these apps. And I like to have Google Drive first, so I'm just going to reorder those. Notice that it gives me the ability to name this folder or space, so I can change it. By default, it's just called Productivity, but I'm going to tap to change it to something like Google Suite. Okay, now I'm going to tap outside of this space, so I'll just tap here. And now I'm back on my regular iPad screen. Now I'm going to tap and hold on Sheets, and then I'll drag Sheets right into that same space or folder, and I'll do the same thing with Slides. So now, anytime I want to use either the shared Stake Google Drive or just one of the documents that's in the shared Google Drive, all I have to do is look for this folder, the Google Suite. So now I can just tap on the folder, it opens up, and I'm ready to go. Now, the first time that you open one of these apps, it's going to ask you to sign in. Now, in my case, I've already signed in, so it should just work. So I'll tap on Google Drive, and it opens up. Notice that it tells me here which account I'm signed into. I have multiple Google accounts, but I can identify right away, this is my church, official stake presidency Google account that I'm signed into. And you can see right here at the top, for me at least, in my drive, I have the special Stake Leadership Documents shared drive. And I can tell that it's a shared drive because it's got this little symbol here that looks like the silhouettes of 2 people. So that indicates it's a shared folder or a shared drive. Now, you may not see that on your iPad in the app. If you don't see it, you might want to go down here to Shared. I've shared this folder, I think, with everyone that should have access to it. So you should be able to go here to Shared. And this is a list of documents or folders that have recently been shared with me. When you do this, I'm hoping that the Stake Leadership Documents folder will show up in this list because I shared it with you. It should. Since I'm the one that created that folder, it doesn't show up in the list for me. So to help you to see this, I went into one of my other Google accounts and took one of my folders that's in that other Google account, and I shared it with my church Google account. So pretend like this, instead of saying Adobe, let's pretend like it says Stake Leadership Documents. What I can do, now that this has been shared with me, is I can go here to these 3 dots and tap and choose Add Shortcut to Drive. If you will do this with the Stake Leadership Documents folder that I shared with you, you will be able to find it much more easily in the future. All right, it's asking me where to put this shortcut that I'm creating. I don't want to put it on a computer, not really. I don't want to put it in any of these others. I want it to be in my own Google Drive. So I'll tap there on My Drive, and now it's opening up a window where I can put it inside of another folder. I don't want to do that. I don't want it to be inside another folder. That would make it harder to find. So I'm just going to tap here where it says Add, and now if I go out of this shared area, if I just go to my home in Google Drive, it might show the shared Google folder here. I don't see it. And the reason why is because these are just suggested documents. So if I want to see everything that's in my Google Drive, instead of going to Home, I go here to Files. So I'll tap on Files, and look, there's the Adobe folder that I shared with myself from one account to another. There it is. It's now going to always be easy for me to find it in my Google Drive. And so if you'll do that same thing, but with the Stake Leadership Documents folder that I shared with you, you should not ever have to go back again to the shared area to find this folder that I shared with you. You'll just be able to go to Files, and it should be there. And because I named it with a 1 at the front, so 1-Stake Leadership Documents, it should always be either the very first item in your files list, or maybe in the top, 4 or 5. So it should always be toward the top. Okay, so I highly recommend that you do that so that you can easily find these important documents and this folder whenever you need to. You would just go to your Google Drive, or in my case, I've put it in the Google Suite folder, tap on Google Drive to open it up. If I don't see the shared folder here, I go here to Files, and there it is, right there. Okay, I'm going to tap on it, and so the app now takes me inside the folder. And you can see everything that's in that folder. There's some subfolders. Here's one for stake conferences. It's got some templates and some conducting sheets and things that we've used in the past, and I can easily pull those up and reuse them in the future. There's stake histories. There's just all of these things. Let's take a look at the High Council assignments sheet. So I'm going to tap to open that up. So here it is. Now, I don't know if you noticed what just happened, but as soon as I opened up this High Council assignments spreadsheet, the screen changed. It looks different. It looks like a spreadsheet. And so something very subtle happened. I'm no longer working in Google Drive. What happened is when I tapped that app, it opened up Google Sheets. And so that's why I said at the beginning, it's important to have all of these apps. The documents and the spreadsheets and the slideshows, they are stored, all of them, in Google Drive. But when it comes time to actually look at them or edit them, you've got to make those edits and you've got to look at them in these apps. It's kind of a weird way to do it, but the files are stored here and they're accessed here, here, or here, depending on the type of file it is. Is it a spreadsheet, like the High Council sheet? Then we will be able to see it here and make edits here. Is it a document? Then we would be able to edit it here. If it's a slideshow, we'd be able to edit it here. But one problem that we're having is every time we need to make a new High Council spreadsheet, we may be going to the Sheets app and maybe copying the old one and making a change. And so we end up with 3 or 4 different versions of this that are shared among the stake leadership. That's a problem. And it's a problem that's solved by using the Google Drive app along with the other Google apps. So let's talk about that. If you look at what we have in the shared drive, Stake Leadership Documents, the High Council assignments list was updated in December 2023. Now, I'm sure we've updated it since then, but the one that's in the shared drive is the one from December 2023. So instead of creating a new document every time you need to make changes, just go in, choose Google Drive, find the current document that everyone can see. It's set up so that all the stake leaders can see it. Tap to open it up. It will open it in the Google Sheets app. And then here you make your changes. Now, what do you do when you're done making your changes? Google Sheets should be automatically saving constantly, so you don't really have to consciously click save. But what you could do when it comes time to finish and put it away is you can go up here where these 3 dots are and tap, and this panel opens up. And here you can see the name. Now let's pretend like I just barely updated this spreadsheet. Maybe I should change the name of the spreadsheet. So I can just tap where the name is, and I get this little pop-up that appears, and I'm just going to hold the spacebar button, and that lets me drag. After you tap and hold it for a while, I'm dragging it all the way to the right, and now I'm going to delete December 2023, and maybe I put in March 2024, and then I could tap rename. Now I'm not really going to do this because this is not really updated, so I'm going to cancel. But if I do that, back in Google Drive, this High Council Assignments Updated spreadsheet will have all the most recent edits, and you won't have to share the new spreadsheet with anyone. It's already shared with everybody. You've just edited it, but it's still the same document. We all have it. And so this will solve so many problems if we can learn to edit the existing documents instead of always creating a new one. Same with the Granger Stake Info 2024 spreadsheet. That's another example. There's multiple versions of this out there, but instead of creating new versions, just when it comes time to make a change, just make those changes and then rename it at the appropriate time, for 2025. When that time comes, we can just tap here in the upper right, tap here on the name, and name it 2025. Again, I'm going to cancel out. Now you may have noticed that I keep switching back and forth between Google Drive and Google Sheets. Some of that is done automatically, but one way that I'm switching back and forth is I'm putting my finger down here at the bottom of the screen, and then I'm holding and dragging up. And if I swipe right or left, you can see I can quickly move back to Google Drive, and I'm ready to use it. Okay, I'm going to go back to the Files area and up to the top, and you can see I'm in the Stake Leadership Documents. If you ever want to back out of a folder, like let's say I go into Stake Conferences, I'll tap on there. So now I'm inside Stake Conferences folder. Well, I want to get out of that. Up here in the upper left, there's an arrow, and I can tap that, and it takes me back to the Stake Leadership Documents folder. And there we have the Stake Conferences folder that I was just inside of, but now I'm in the Stake Leadership Documents folder. If I tap this arrow again, then I get back and I can see everything in my Google Drive, all of the folders and files that are in my Google Drive. Okay, so jumping back to the Stake Leadership Documents folder, I want to give you a couple other examples. So here's the Ward Conference Plan for 2024. And I bet you know what to expect when I tap on this. Is it going to open Google Sheets? No. This is a document. It's not a spreadsheet. So it's going to open up in Google Docs. So I'll tap there. Google Docs opens. There's the Ward Conference Plan. Because I'm in Google Docs now, I can go in and make adjustments. And in Google Docs, you can make edits once you tap this button here to get into editing mode. And so now I can tap, let's say I want to change who's speaking in the El Camino ward. I can just delete, and I'll put in another person that's going to speak. Okay, and then I can tap this button here to hide the keyboard, and that should automatically be saved. When I'm done editing, I can tap here on the check mark, tap back if I want to. Now I'm still in Google Docs, so that's one of the tricky things about using all this stuff on an iPad. You got to kind of get this mental model for how this is working. I started out in Google Drive, but when I tapped Word Conference Plan, it took me into Google Docs. If I want to get back to Google Docs, I could tap this back arrow here, but I'm still inside of Google Docs. So how do I get back to Google Drive? I can swipe up from the bottom here. That's my favorite way. And then I can just pull to the right. Now I'm back in Google Drive. Google Slides works similarly. I could just tap to open up the Google Slideshow. It's possible to make edits, and I can just go from there. Once more, I'm going to tap and swipe up from the bottom, and I'll swipe to the right, get back to my Google Drive. So if you're watching this video and you're one of the Stake Presidency team that's going to help edit these documents and spreadsheets, etc., hopefully this video helps to think about how that's going to work. And then there are a couple of high counselors and others that will have editing rights to certain parts of the Stake Leadership Documents folder. Documents like the Stake Speaking assignments, the Facebook assignments, and a few other things. Those will be managed and edited by high counselors or other people that are part of the Stake Leadership team. But pretty much everyone else, you'll probably just have view access to these documents. So you'll be able to see them, but you won't be able to make edits. But hopefully this helps. If you feel like you'd like some one-on-one help with this, I would be more than happy to help, especially on a Sunday afternoon. Just let me know. We can get together and I can help you with this.